We are looking forward to the contest this weekend in Salt Lake. After watching all the film, or at least a good portion of the film yesterday and today, they are a very talented team and a very opportunistic team. Very fundamentally sound, a team that looks like really understands field position, really taking advantage of turnovers, and obviously very well coached. So we know we're going to be in for it. Going into an environment like theirs, the last UCLA team that went there did not fare well. So it's a huge challenge for us, and hopefully we can keep our eye on the ball, focus like we've focused each of the last 2 weeks, and put together a great week of practice and give ourselves a great chance as we get to Salt Lake on Saturday. But excited about earning the right to be in another big game. Questions? Well, yeah. The great news about the 2 lost fumbles is that our defense bowed up and didn't allow any points off of it. You know, turnovers are a critical statistic because normally they parlay themselves into points. You know, usually it's a short field or you're losing points because you were in a position where you could have scored. And so that's why that sways the game in such a way. But in both instances, our defense went in there and got them off the field 3 and out. And that's a huge, huge thing when you're talking about the emotional pulse of your team. You know, to weather the sudden change, go in there and make those kind of plays, and allow the opposition to not score. That's strong.
Will there be any communication between you and Norm this week?
I don't know that we'll talk during the week, but I hope to see him on game day. And Norm and Diane are great people, and I enjoyed my time with Norm. Enjoyed getting to know his family, and I'm happy that they're having some success. I just would like it to stall for one particular day and then wish them well the rest of the time.
Is Richard definitely back tomorrow? Or?
He's going to be back in some limited capacity. What he's capable of doing and how much he's capable of doing remains to be seen, but he's going to get to go out there and run around and throw some routes. I don't know that he'll be involved in team stuff tomorrow.
He's listed as questionable. Can he be used, do you think, on Saturday?
Questionable means that he's 50-50, and again, I won't have any answer on that until I see what he's capable of doing tomorrow. I don't know. I know what he tells me is, Coach, I'll be ready, which you love about young people. They're 10 feet tall and they're bulletproof, but we'll wait and see.
Jonathan had some more, as he continues to have fumble issues. How do you deal with that now?
If you look at the fumble the other night, it wasn't caused by an opponent. It was caused by the back of a guard, and he wasn't bracing for the contact at that time, and that's why it got away from him. I don't think it's been nearly as significant a problem as it was early in his career. I think he's worked hard to correct it, and if your question is whether or not I trust Jonathan Franklin, the answer is unequivocally yes. I think he's a terrific player, a terrific team player, and he wants nothing more than for us to continue to be successful. And so I know that he'll work hard this week to correct the problem that occurred last week, and so will Derek. Derek fumbled also in the game. So both those guys, those are consummate team players, and we're lucky to have them both.
Does the elevation present any problems?
I coached at Colorado, and I thought the teams that did best were the ones that didn't care. Didn't make it a big deal, just went and played. And so that's what we're going to do. We're just going to go play.
When you were coaching at Colorado, did you try to remind other teams that they were at that certain?
Well, there are all kinds of signs around to remind you you're at a mile high. But
Any
I-
outside the visitors' locker room?
none that I recall.
You have Dietrich still out, and you have any further tests?
Yeah, I think he's seeing somebody this week. I don't know the date of that, but he is going to see somebody this week. You know, again, the wonder of youth. You know, he feels like he can play. But as is always the case, we're going to make sure and be real careful about those things. And but the long-term prognosis is positive that he'll have a chance to come back and play. I don't know how long that is, but we're hopeful that that's the case.
Rick, I don't mean to walk you down memory lane, and some of those memories probably weren't all that great, but when, you and Norm showed up, and literally the first practice, you was both starting quarterbacks, and for two guys who were known as being quarterback gurus, how did you guys handle that moment, and sort of, since that point, you lost a lot of quarterbacks along the way to injury.
Yeah, I don't read the papers. It's not that I don't think you're all wonderful writers. It's so I don't know exactly what's been said about Norm and I. I know that we both feel like we know the quarterback position. We had lots of great conversations about quarterbacking and pass offense and so forth, and I enjoyed that banter. And I learned from him. Whether or not he learned from me, you'd have to ask him. But I certainly learned from him, and I don't think the reason we didn't have as much success was at all because of a rift between Norm and I. Now, again, he may have a separate opinion, but I don't think that was the case. I think it was a case of too many injuries to sustain any level of consistency. Whether it be at the quarterback position or in the offensive line because of protection issues. And it was always like trying to put a Band-Aid on something rather than absolutely getting a chance to flourish. And, that's just the nature of our business, and we move on. I think Norm's resume speaks for itself with respect to his ability to coach and coach well. And I've always called him kind of a rock star of our business. So I'm glad that he's continuing in that vein, and hopefully we can continue to be successful as well. Obviously, the rubber meets the road this weekend, but as we go on, we can pull for each other again, or at least I'll pull for him.
I think you got exactly what I was asking you, which is it seems like you guys never really got to coach a specific quarterback and nurture a specific quarterback.
Yeah, the 14th day of spring practice, we lost two seniors in Ben Olson and Pat Cowan. And went with a youngster who had just been there, Kevin Kraft, who played valiantly, if not all the time as well as we'd like, but played valiantly. And then, tried to raise a freshman who kept getting interrupted with injury, and just it was one of those deals.
Can we even fairly evaluate Norm's job that he did here, just based on him? If he's known as a quarterback, you would never.
Yeah, I would say that if you always look at the whole body of work. I would say that if you focused on that, you'd be making a mistake.
How about yourself too? I mean, I know that it's something you take a lot of pride in too, in terms of your skill set. And do you feel like you've gotten to really raise the quarterback the way you wanted to? I mean,
In this last season? Well, I tried to give Norman space when I was, because you don't want to confuse a guy because of the language he's hearing. Sometimes I may say the same thing that Norm's saying, but I'm saying it differently, so it gets a different result. And I wasn't perfect at that, but because sometimes I say what I think. But I worked hard at trying to give room for the quarterback room, but as things started to go in different directions, it was I yearned to have that responsibility again. So I'm excited to have it now.
How would you characterize your relationship with him now?
We spoke once this season. He called after their BYU game, which was a huge success for them, and said that he used one of the concepts that I had given to him. We shared a lot of ideas. One of the concepts I had given to him, they used it and scored a few times on it. So he was just calling to say thank you, and I thought it was a great phone call. And it was great at that time to realize that our friendship was more than just because we shared office space. You know, it was deeper than that. And like I said, I've always been an admirer, and I think his family's wonderful and wish him well.
What was the concept?
I can't tell you because I might use it. I think it's a magnet concept. We call it a magnet concept. But he's on the other side of the ball. It's amazing how you get just kind of into your lane. You don't necessarily go over there and talk to those guys on the other side.
So it's your turn when you recall, to return the call this week?
Well, we're going to get to see each other on Saturday. I don't know that it needs to be a lot of phone calls this week. We're going to get to see each other, and I'm going to be happy for that.
They obviously should be pretty well prepared for this offense. Even though he is in a different meeting room, you'd expect.
There's no question that they'll be asking, they'll be talking to Norm about what we do. And like all offenses, they evolve. You know, I'm talking to Joe Tracy about what Norm used to do, right? But his offense has evolved as I watch it. And that's what happens. You take the personnel. It's kind of like taking the clay and you mold it into what you think can flourish. And they've done a nice job of that.
What's sort of I don't know, the rules of the game in terms of football, and when you leave one place, and I don't know if you asked him to leave his playbook or anything, but what's kosher in the profession?
Well, you know, Norm brought his playbook to UCLA, and he takes it with him. But it stays behind also because we have all the film from the years that he was here. So, I mean, we can go back and look at a lot of great Norm Chow offense over the years, whether it be in a USC Trojan uniform or a UCLA Bruin uniform or a Tennessee Titan uniform. We can look at all that, but really now that we're 9 weeks into the season, we really want to look at Utah film and study what they've done. We can put names on it using old language, but you know what they're doing in their comfort zone, given you know who they have running the particular positions. That all changes because of over the course of time and as an offense evolves. So they're comfortable with different things than they might have been comfortable with before. But you can look back and maybe remember old wrinkles, things that he might have wanted to do at some time. But it's that ultimate game of rock, scissors, paper. I know what you're going to do when you're down here at this portion of the field, but then he goes, but I know you know, so I'm going to do this. And so at the end of the day, you just got to play ball. What's that scene in Princess Bride? Don't you know that I know that you know that I know? You can play that endlessly.
Would Kevin help, how much more offensively are you able to use now than, say, a year ago or earlier this season?
Well, just as we were talking about the evolution of the Utah offense, our offense has evolved. And you know, the goal coming into this season was to create some balance, to create some ability to get the ball down the field. And we don't necessarily do it a lot, averaging, while Kevin's been in there, with the exception of the Arizona game, which got one-sided, somewhere in the neighborhood around 20 passes a game. But if your yards per attempt in that are up to snuff, then you can be effective. The key is to stay ahead of down and distance. But our offense definitely is further along than a year ago, but that was going to be a natural progression, just having been in it a second year, and the addition of Jim Mastro, who had been in it 5 years previous to that.
How much of that has to do with Kevin being healthy and running the ball?
Well, that's been, important also. There's no question. But for a penalty, we might have had another 100-yard game last weekend for Kevin, and that makes the offense complete when you have to honor the fact that if he keeps the ball, he's a weapon.
So what's the plan for Cassius now?
Cassius is back, ready to compete and help our football team. We'll wait and see exactly where he gets plugged in to the lineup and what personnel groupings and so forth like that. But we're excited that he's back, and I know he learned a valuable lesson in his time away.
What's the plan for the quarterbacks if we go good play?
Well, we'll determine that plan when and if he's ready to play, and that'll be an ongoing thing. The nice thing is we've got two quarterbacks that are capable of helping us win. Everybody good? All right, thanks.